easiest, most comfortable, most convenient things, again, the path of least resistance, are oftentimes the things we spend the most time on, but we actually get the least value out of, right? So it's just a miscalculation, misunderstanding of where happiness actually comes from.
They say home is where the heart is, so I wonder why your motherfucker always feeling heartless.
Welcome to episode 60 of Doubly Negative. As always, I'm Chris, here with my friend Kyle. Kyle, how are you?
I'm doing great, Chris. How you doing?
Doing fantastic. So as you all can see, if you're watching on the YouTube, we are welcoming back our good friend, Nick. He is the only recurring guest in Doubly Negative history. You're the only one that's been on multiple times.
Is that true?
I hope so. I think so. I really think so.
For some reason, I don't feel like that's true. I feel like there was somebody else.
Twice?
Damn.
No, I think you're the only one that's been on more than twice. This is appearance number 3 now. Actually, technically, you've been on 4 episodes because we had that one super long one too.
That's true. We split episode 2 into 2 parts. So that's true. Damn.
So you've been in 4 out of 60 episodes of Doubly Negative.
I feel honored.
Yeah, so do we. So we didn't really discuss what we were going to talk about. We're just going to shoot from the hip. Normally, I feel like it's a trend that when you come on, normally it's after Kyle addresses a certain issue he's having currently in his life, and then you come on and you help him address it.
Okay. And that's where we're picking up where we left off.
Is that what's happening here?
It's just an idea I had in my head.
Yeah.
It seems to be a recurring theme. And I think you had mentioned it first. I don't think this is me pulling it out of my ass. So you're the smart one, not me. You mentioned it last week, I think.
Damn,
Was a smart one.
Happened to my video.
You are. Oh, wait, you fucked up?
Am I blurry?
You're a little blurry.
Damn. Maybe it'll come back on. I don't know what happened.
It'll figure itself out, probably.
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, you did mention this last time, Kyle, that you said Nick always comes on after your problems.
I did. And Nick, I heard a rumor that you already listened to episode 59. Is that correct?
I did.
He's the most prepared. He's more prepared than we are for any episode. And he's coming on. He's already listened to the previous episodes, and then he'll like take notes on the most recent before he comes on. So
yeah, usually that is the go-to. I actually didn't do that this time. So yeah, we are kind of like shooting from the hip. So if you notice a difference, so I'm not nearly as prepared this time around. You'll know why. But yeah, no, I did enjoy the conversation. Attachment styles are actually like, oh, I'm back.
Hell yeah, I was waiting for that the whole time.
Nice.
Here we go.
I was almost gonna say something like, "Let's come on." All right, it's gone a little much.
Yeah, no, but attachment styles are like one of my favorite conversations to have. So when you were like going in on different attachment styles, and even going as far into like where the attachment styles came from, like in the research and the studies and whatnot, which I mean, all was pretty spot on. So it was I definitely enjoyed the conversation. I definitely had feedback though, but I don't know. What were your tell me about what you learned in your attachment style sort of exploration here, research?
Well,
I mean, that wasn't already shared last time.
Yeah. So I guess the really quick background is that there's 3 categories of attachment styles. Secure is the one you want. And then avoidant and anxious are the big umbrellas for the other ones. And according to some online quizzes, I know super legit.
Yeah.
And
no, I was curious what the quiz was that you took, because I wanted to take it in preparation, but you guys never actually said. I kind of wanted to log on and be like, which one is mine? I mean, I know which one is mine, but
do the quiz live, and you're going to talk about every single question and give us examples from your childhood. Please explain.
Yeah, it'd be a peek behind the curtain from the therapist, right?
Yeah.
Not generally one who discloses. Well, I'm actually much more transparent, I think, with my clients than most therapists. Most therapists are definitely like super hesitant about self-disclosing like their own stuff. I
can see you being that guy.
I'm pretty much an open book. I mean, there's obviously limits to it, but
of course.
I'm not going to tell them about my sex life and things like that. That's just obviously
not. So I was banging out my girlfriend the other day.
So that's clearly not gonna. It has no place in a therapy session. It's not not productive for anybody. But yeah, I would say when it comes to self-disclosure, I'm definitely a little bit more lenient with it. But yeah, anyway.
We're not gonna have you go because there's a lot of questions on that test, more than I anticipated.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You guys were saying it was quick, but
It was kind of quick, but I mean, I thought it was like, all right, next. There was 4 pages and like 6 questions on each page, maybe.
okay.
It's relatively quick, but to have you do it here and
Well,
then
I found
explain
another
each
one.
answer.
That was the first one I took, but then I ended up on this subreddit for attachment theory. It's called r/attachment theory. And they have one that they recommend. And these are people that have looked into it quite a bit. And this is another free one, but it's even a little bit longer. And I ended up with the same result on that one, which was dismissive avoidant. And then everything I read about it and watched about it kind of does fit how I act and how I think in relationships. So then the more I read about that, the more I just started getting scared, basically. It's helping me understand myself, which is better. But then also maybe giving myself, worries and anxieties about the future.
So
Yeah.
I have a first question for you, Nick. We were kind of going back and forth last episode on if the attachment style is something you can break out of. So can you elaborate on that a little bit? I think that might be fun to hear.
Yeah, that was something that the takeaway for me was, so the word that you were using was like, can you heal your attachment style? Which I thought was an interesting way of phrasing it. Yeah, I mean, I think so. So something you kind of alluded to is like secure attachment. That's sort of like the gold standard. That's like what we're all hoping to have when you're confident in yourself and trusting of other people, and you can securely attach to your partner. Not everybody obviously is born with like securely attached, and there's a lot of reasons why that is, but I like to think that we can work to get there. I don't know if not everybody's necessarily capable of getting like 100% entirely secure within themselves and within their partner, but we can certainly be better than we are now in whatever attachment style that we are. It takes time, takes hard work, things that I know Chris was kind of hammering that home in the last pod. Yeah. So yeah, and maybe call me an optimist. I don't know. But I like to think it just as a guiding sort of philosophy that if you care about something enough, you can make it happen. With it.
Is that backed up by real experience or experience with clients though? Because
of course.
I was just worried that these are, and sorry to be an asshole and correct you a little bit, but you said not everyone's born with a securely attachment style. Well, actually, it's something that comes about through development and through relationships, right? That was my understanding, that it usually comes from. Yeah. So,
well, as
is, of course,
as is most things. I just say as is most things, it comes from like our relationship with our parents and how we develop and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Based on how our parenting style is, really like heavily influences which attachment style we tend to favor.
Right. So like anything else, it's kind of on a spectrum. And if you're, let's say, slightly anxious or slightly avoidant, sure, it's going to be fairly, well, not easy, but it's going to be easier to come to the center. But if you're dealing with like, and I'm saying that I am, but if you're dealing with like a lifetime of neglect and abuse, you're dealing with very deeply ingrained thought patterns and emotions that are not conscious decisions about how you act in relationships.
Sure.
And what I was saying in the last podcast is that there's a couple fairly intelligent psychologists that say that these attachment styles cannot be changed. In relationships, you can do your best. Maybe you're gonna, I don't know, make a little improvement, but this is the way that you react in certain situations. You're gonna get triggered, and that's how it is. So yeah. I'm glad to hear you say the opposite, and I just want to hear you expand on it.
Yeah. So again, I guess it's a matter of what you classify as like you can't change it. That sure, like so whatever your attachment style is, that's sort of initially how you're sort of programmed and hardwired. That's like your automatic thought is to lean into that particular attachment style. But just because that's the first thought that you have, like the automatic thought or the automatic reaction, doesn't necessarily mean that has to be the one you respond to, right? So we can learn to like build awareness over my attachment style. What does it look like? How does it present itself? And when I have those reactions in real time, I can like give myself permission to like take a step back, analyze that. Where's that coming from? Is that like a genuine fear or whatnot? Or is this, is this sort of the attachment style talking, for lack of better phrasing, right? And if so, we can challenge that and replace it with something more constructive of like, if I was going to react this way in a, in an anxious way or in an avoidant way or whatever the case, I can try to circumvent that and replace it with a different behavior. That makes sense.
It's good.
But yeah, to your point. So sure, you're not necessarily changing the attachment style. It very well may still be kind of ingrained in you first and foremost. But as you go through that process enough times of challenging it, replacing those thoughts with more constructive ones, yada, 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 those attachment styles don't nearly have as much control over you as they used to. If that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, and that's basically what I've been trying to do too. And so far it's been going fairly well. So one of the things that I think, I don't know if it's my attachment style or my personality, but probably both, is like, I find it difficult to share feelings when I feel like they might upset my girlfriend. So if I'm not feeling comfortable spending as much time as I am with her, and I want my own time, sometimes I feel like I'm going to hurt her by saying that. So in the past, I haven't said it. Now I'm practicing saying it, even though my attachment style, my instinct is don't say it, don't say it. I'm trying to say it more, right?
Well, and what is the fear? What is the fear if you do say it?
I guess on the surface level, I always think that it's like I'm afraid to hurt her, but probably deeper down, it's more about then she won't like me.
So rejection,
probably,
and just vulnerability. Yeah,
probably.
I think it's good insight.
I feel like it's a very rational fear to have for most people. Like, I don't think if Michelle wanted to hang out, I just go, no, I don't really want to. I have that same, like, I don't want to make them feel bad. I feel like it's a very rational fear to have. But I did test and have the same attachment style as you, so maybe that's why. Is that normal?
Oh, you're talking to me? I'm sorry.
Whoever wants to listen.
Oh. When you started talking, Chris, I just tuned you out. I'm here for Kyle.
Yeah, we both just.
All right, I'll see you guys later.
So yeah, you're saying that if Michelle wants to talk or wants to hang out or whatever, you don't want to hurt her feelings, so you feel obligated to hang out.
Yeah, well, it's not even that. I'm gonna get questioned about that now, the way you just phrased it. So you don't want to hang out sometimes, huh? That's not what I said, Nick.
In the same way that sometimes it's a chore for you to make love with your wife, sometimes it's a burden for you to spend time with her. That's what you're saying.
That's not what I'm saying.
There's some times when you'd rather be literally anywhere else, but spending time with your wife.
If anyone's wondering what Kyle's referencing, you can look up the episode Doing the Chores and you can get a little more insight there if you're just joining us.
Shit.
But it's my words being twisted and manipulated to make me look like an asshole. And if you recognize what I'm saying here, that means it's a recurring theme, because I just pointed out another episode where it happened, and it's happening again.
I do abuse you a little bit. I'm sorry.
No, I like it. I'm here for it.
But it's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a good time. It's all good fun. But I'm off the rails.
So if that was a misinterpreted.
That was misinterpreted.
Yeah.
Good callback.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I should leave.
If that was a misinterpretation, what could you rephrase then? What it was the message you were trying to get across, and I'll try not to fall asleep this time.
Listen, I was sleeping for the first half hour. We joined the Zoom, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, let's get recording, testing." And you guys are just like, "Yeah, Bali, I want to move to Bali."
Oh, snooze fest.
Yeah, it's already been discussed. We've gotten requests to not hear about it anymore.
That's aggressive.
No, it was that one request, and the gang gets critiqued. It was aggressive. I guess I'm saying I feel like it's a rational fear to have that, like, oh no, I don't feel like hanging out with you right now. Like, obviously there are times where she's like, hey, why don't you move in? I go, I'm gonna go play FIFA.
Right.
But it's different, I guess, for us because we live in the same house. I'll just walk out there, do my, gamely check in. Hey honey, how's it going? And then boom, back in here to play some FIFA. For you, it's different where you're not living with your girlfriend, Kyle. It's like hey, you want to hang out? Let's go get some food. And you say, no, I don't want to do that. Because I'm still physically in their presence. I'm not very far away from Michelle,
Right.
So I feel like it's a lot. There's more stakes in the situation that Kyle's in, I guess.
I mean, it's a different scenario for sure. But yeah, I guess what you're getting at too is definitely something that's a hallmark of avoidant attachment, which is like tend to like rationalize your own feelings and like, or just deny your feelings, and because you don't want to have the confrontation. So like, so the example you gave there, it's like maybe you just, instead of saying like, no, I don't want to hang out with you, maybe you do, just to avoid the confrontation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Chris, let's turn the spotlight on you for a minute, because
Mm.
you did get the same damn results that I did, and I know you said maybe your results were different for your parents than they were for your relationship, but
Oh, yeah,
I
that's
think
good.
you must have some of the same thought patterns, feelings that I do to some extent. Yeah. So go on. Tell us about your fucked upness.
Well, one thing I didn't really think about really as far as confrontation, when Nick used that word, that kind of popped out to me, because I usually avoid confrontation at all costs. I'll just bury that in the back and not talk about it, because I just don't want to upset the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Really. Is that not a normal thing to do? I just thought that was something everybody did. That's my dumb brain.
Oh no, some people lean into that confrontation. Some people love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely people who really like thrive off of confrontation, thrive off the drama.
Yeah. But I'm always like, no, do not want to deal with it.
Right. Yeah, which makes sense again with if you did fall into the more avoidant attachment style, right? Because you will avoid things that make you uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Whether that be confrontation, whether that be emotions, whether that be vulnerability, your partner, whatever the.
And this will be like really on the pop psych side, but
I love pop psych 101.
Hypothetically speaking, this came from some sort of childhood situation or when you were developing your attachment style, where the figure in your life that provided safety and security and love would get upset. You would do your best to placate them, and that was how you gained acceptance or approval or whatever. So now when you have confrontation, you don't lean into it, because that does not get the right outcome. That's what you found in your earlier life, that you do not want conflict. That makes things worse. It makes things better. It gives you love when you fix it. So now whenever somebody in your life is mad, that's what you do. You don't want to make it worse. You want to fix it. And that means putting your own needs aside. You don't want to express your own feelings, because your feelings don't matter as much as theirs. And this, I know I went totally into pop psych, but does any of that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense, because I remember even as a kid, I was like the golden child, and I didn't do anything that I knew would upset my parents, because I didn't want to upset them. So I took almost no risks whatsoever, because I didn't want to have that confrontation. I was afraid of that confrontation.
Yeah, I do like that you're pointing out the fact that just attachment styles are different. Like different types of relationships bring about a different kind of attachment style. Because yeah, the way you formulate attachments with a friend may be very different from a parent, from a partner, from your boss, whatever the case.
Is it typical to see some of like say your attachment style with the relationship with your parents? Is it normal to see similarities throughout attachment styles in other relationships? Is there usually a correlation?
I admittedly don't know if I'm sure there's probably studies on it. I mean,
kind of a loaded question, I know.
Yeah. I don't know if there's like, just because I'm, anxious attachment, style towards my parents or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean that translates. But I mean, I would guess it's probably more common that you would stick to the same attachment style than be different. Because that's kind of how initially sort of how you're hardwired. But yeah, I mean, you're kind of regardless, your attachment style, again, towards partners, friends, whatever, is still heavily influenced by your relationship with your parents and what that parenting style was like too. So somebody who's more, more avoidant attachment generally falls under the category of like, of having kind of unstable household sort of situation. Typically only like some of your needs were met, emotionally or physically. So you sort of had to learn to sort of take care of yourself in a lot of ways, because you weren't always necessarily didn't necessarily know when you were going to get love and affection and care and whatnot, which tends to then lead you to be more of like a lone wolf, right? I'm more of, I can take care of myself. I need my autonomy, my independence, my freedom. As you kind of get older, right? Then makes it challenging to then formulate relationships with partners, but also with friends even, right? Because if you're just a lone wolf, generally, you're also not going to have a ton of friends either, because it's like, who needs them, right?
Yeah, and I guess you grow comfortable being in that lone wolf mindset. So
Yeah.
that's where you want to be because that's what you're used to.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas like somebody who's more anxious attachment, they, their relationship with the parents is definitely different. Where I guess it's similar in a lot of ways where it's definitely still inconsistent, inconsistent care. But it just like develops differently in that it's more of like a like waiting up for that other person. Like it sort of develops into this more of like, there's a void within me that like I need somebody else to fill kind of thing when it comes to your relationships, which is a little bit different. Like a sort of sense of like always feeling empty.
Yep.
And then I'm constantly looking for somebody to sort of fill that emptiness within me to make me feel whole because I'm by myself not good enough as it is. So I'm my best self when somebody else is lifting me up, basically. Yeah. To
That's
sort of fill
the
the
anxious
void.
side.
That's anxious attachment. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Have
so
you looked much into anxious attachment, Kyle, or did you just stick in your lane, dismiss and avoid when like doing more research on it? Because admittedly, I haven't done much at all.
Yeah, I basically stuck to my issues, but a lot of what you see on the subreddits and other communities is you see a lot of relationships that form between people with anxious styles and people with avoidant styles. It's like they seem to attract each other.
Yeah.
So
that's actually
while I
100%
was
true.
reading about it, it's like I was reading about both because of that. And yeah, and I think Nick's going to get into that in a second, but I just wanted to say one thing real quick about I think what you said, Chris, before when we're discussing conflict, and you said, "Isn't everybody like that?" Man, that was one of my biggest realizations in so many of these things. And
Yeah.
I had a moment just now where I remembered something where I was talking to one of my friends, and I was like, "Yeah, I just always like I feel comfortable alone. Isn't everybody like that?" And he's like, "No, I feel very uncomfortable when I'm alone." And it's like, damn, we're all like very different in certain ways. But I just thought about that.
Yeah.
The facts that avoidant and anxious people are attracted to one another is so interesting to me too.
Yeah, why?
But like studies do sort of back that up. I mean, and just anecdotal evidence back that up. Because that's sort of like the opposites attract sort of thing. Like there's definitely some psychology and sort of science behind it. Somebody who's more anxious attachment, sort of idolizes somebody who's more of a lone wolf, right? Like, because I'm so needy, I'm so like, codependent that I'm looking for somebody who has what I perceive as like all this strength and independence, and they don't care about what anybody thinks, and they can do their thing, whatever. So that's what sort of drives they like looking for you to pull maybe some of those qualities out of me, or that's somebody who I need to lean into because they got their shit figured out, right? From optically it looks like they got their shit figured out when I'm just a big anxious mess and I'm so emotional and X, Y, and Z. Whereas somebody who's more avoidant, which I feel like I'm also kind of bearing the lead because I don't think either one of you are actually avoidant attachment, but
Ooh.
but
Lead buried.
yes.
Yeah.
But somebody who's more avoidant, there's definitely, generally speaking, somebody who's more avoidant, there's also like an arrogance to it, and it feels good to like feel like I'm better than my partner, kind of thing, like a sort of I have to take care of them. It's kind of
What you'd call alpha male, almost.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
alpha female.
Maybe I don't know if it necessarily was like fits that like definition.
Yeah.
But I think there's something like somebody who's more avoidant is like I'm strong and independent and I don't need anybody, like kind of thing. That there's definitely something that they get out of like being in a relationship where somebody needs them, because it kind of confirms to them like, oh yeah, I got my shit figured out and
I am the shit. Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, I am the shit. This person is all over me. Like clearly I am the shit.
No one. And
so,
that person's all over them really because they have anxious avoidant or not anxious attachment.
Yeah. And so that's, and I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on that. But does that when I'm describing somebody who's avoidant, somebody who's generally kind of tends to be kind of a lone wolf, likes their independence and autonomy, but oftentimes kind of has an arrogant sort of tone to it. Does that sound like you guys?
Not me. I'll say that right now.
Mm.
I Yeah, no, not at all for me.
For me, I don't know if there's arrogance attached to it, but the lone wolf part, yeah, definitely.
Mm.
Where so I wanted to bring another point in. Sometimes, from what I've read about attachment styles and all these things, like forming relationships based on childhood trauma, etc., it's not even like what helps us and what feels good, but what feels comfortable because it's what we experienced so much as a child. So
Sure.
sometimes something that might feel like it might seem like it would feel good, like close connection with someone, actually feels uncomfortable because it's not what we had. And I was thinking about it last night, and it's like I spent a lot of time alone when I was a kid. And I can't even really remember, because this is something Chris talked about. I think another thing that characterizes people with attachment styles is like, or avoidant attachment styles, is like sometimes it's hard to remember things from childhood.
Mm.
So I don't know if that's an attachment style thing or not, but just mention that. I don't even really remember why I was alone so much, but I spent a lot of time alone, and now I generally feel more comfortable alone. Even when I have like my best friends and stuff, I can spend several hours with them, but I always just kind of want to get alone.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of it's also like introvert versus extrovert, which are kind of connected to attachment styles for sure too. But you may be just hardwired in a way to be more of like introverted, like anyway. But that's not necessarily like you don't have to fall into one particular attachment style, you know, and like you could be introverted and be anxious attachment. You could be introverted and be avoidant attachment, you know, whatever the case. But yeah, so you said that you always remember being kind of by yourself, being alone. What was your household sort of like? I mean, not to get all like super therapy on you, but
Oh, that's okay. I remember, so both my parents were supporting in most ways, and actually individually they were supporting in all ways.
Mhm.
But they really didn't like each other
Mm.
for most of my childhood. So there was no, basically I think there was an air of discomfort when they were in the same household, and there was a lot of fighting, a lot of arguing, and essentially I think they both agree now that they should have gotten divorced like 10 or 15 years before they did.
Sure.
So I think, just trying to remember, or trying to like put the pieces of the puzzle together, I think I was probably just trying to get away from that a lot of the time, going to my room, going downstairs, going outside, or something like that. And I think that's probably what was going on.
Mm. Yeah. So I think that checks out. That makes a lot of sense. That there's, even though they were supportive of you, there was still like this like layer of like tension and stress and whatnot that kind of bled through, and you internalize that, right? Because we're just big sponges. We just soak up, especially as kids, we soak up all kinds of information, both consciously but also like unconsciously, right? Even if there wasn't fighting going on, you know, you could still like feel the tension in the room between the two of them, kind of thing, which is more of like an unconscious thing. But that makes sense. And Chris, I remember in the last pod, you kind of alluded to like you don't even remember what you're like, don't remember much about your childhood. You thought you, at least what you remember, you thought you remember it being good.
Yeah, for the most part, it seemed okay. It just got bad towards the end.
Mm.
But like, I really don't remember much of my childhood at all.
Mm. Do you remember your parents being there?
I mean, my dad traveled a lot in the beginning, and my mom was pretty much always there. But I mean, I guess I spent a lot of time in my room just being. They kind of argued a lot too, but I don't think it was on the level of Kyle's parents. Um, so I don't know. I did spend a lot of time by myself in my room, I guess, and I
Mm.
eventually moved down to the basement where I pretty much never left. So I was down there all the time and not seeing them. So I was a little bit of a hermit towards as time went on.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and something that I'm going back and forth between the two of you. But something Kyle had said last pod too.
It's like couples therapy.
I know, right? I know, and I actually don't usually do couples therapy.
This is your first time?
Yeah,
or fourth time?
well, Yeah. I mean, I've
Chris
met with
and I are
couples
trying to work
before.
through it.
It's
No, but,
going well, but there are times where I question things, and
Yeah.
Kyle obviously questions things too, because I mean, look how he talks.
Well,
Okay, sorry.
well, one of the things that you had said was, which stood out to me was like because you had asked a similar kind of question of like, what was your relationship like with your parents, or what was your childhood like or whatever, and or if they had been, were they there for your for your baseball games and things like that. And you had actually said like, I think my perception of it is actually it's more about your perception versus the reality, and that sort of that's like spot on too. Whether they were actually there or not sometimes can be almost entirely irrelevant. It's more of like the perception of were they there, kind of thing, like more like emotionally there, sometimes more than physically there. But again, everybody's a little bit different. Sometimes, as long as you're there in person, like physically, that's all that matters. But the fact that you said your dad was sort of never there, Chris, or it was always out, maybe there's something to that.
Yeah, I feel like that makes sense.
Why was
Well, what was it? I'm sorry.
I don't know.
think you
Both
cut
of you
out
have to
there.
talk at the same time.
Yeah, it's
sorry?
like I think it cut out.
You said your dad was traveling, Chris? Why?
For work.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah. So it was like, going to Florida for 7 days, going to North Carolina for a couple weeks, and sometimes it was multiple weeks in a month. So he was out and about a lot. And speaking of like basketball games and stuff, if anyone was gonna go, it was mostly him. I don't think my mom like ever went. Because I remember now that we're talking about it, always being like, "Hey, you should come. Like you should come. You'd have fun. Like come watch." And like she's never did. So that makes sense. Now that we're talking about it, this is why therapy's good. You start bringing out these memories.
There we go.
You talk it through.
Yeah, and Nick, I think you were just kind of jerking me off about this point because I was right about it. And I appreciate that. It felt great. And now I'm going to jerk you off too about the same point because I think you're making me realize it's the same thing on a deeper level. But you said the thing about how we're all sponges and how maybe there wasn't even that much fighting. I think you're absolutely right. And like, I'm thinking about now our dad's traveling, right? I think my dad was only traveling like 1 week a month at most. But when I look back in the past, I think my dad was traveling all the time. So it's like maybe those times when he was traveling, that like hit hard for some reason. It left a bigger imprint. And it's like those fights hit hard too. Maybe there was only one fun fight every few months. I don't know. But maybe that fight hit so hard where it like is more, it comes to the front of the memory more.
Sure. Like those memories, the sponge effect, those ones soaked up more than the regular everyday, like, oh, they were both there for my basketball game or whatever the case. Those other moments sort of seem to carry more weight than the others.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking now how like it sucks to be a parent, huh?
It's
it seems pretty much impossible.
It seems impossible.
Do either of you guys watch the show This Is Us?
This is
no. Oh my God.
I don't think I have. Don't you throw your hands up in disgust? Don't you
show? All right, for my money, that's the best show on television. It's not close. That show is so good.
You're setting the bar high. You realize Sopranos exists.
Okay, well, I mean, technically they're done because this was the last season and they just put it out, which I haven't actually, no spoilers. I haven't actually seen the last season, but that show crushes it. It's like, it's a drama. I mean, it's a drama show, but it's just super brief synopsis. I don't know if you know what it's about, but it's about like these three triplets who one of them's adopted and is Black, and the rest of the family's white, and they're growing up in Pittsburgh, and like sort of the perception versus reality, sort of in how parenting sort of contributes to their development. I mean, there's so much psychology in it, and it's like the most well-written show ever. I mean, every single episode will like makes you cry, either like happy tears or sad tears. Every episode, oh my God, so good. So good.
I just want to say I'm looking it up, and the genre it falls under is tragedy.
Oh, it's so good.
It doesn't say drama, it just says tragedy.
Yeah. So it's definitely a pretty like well-rounded show though. There's some tragedy. There's also a lot of like, comedy, some rom-com stuff. Like there's a lot of like different elements to it for sure. But if you're like looking for a show that's like super tied into like psychology, parenting, like human development, perception of event. I mean, oh, that show is so good.
How
But
much are they paying you?
they don't.
No,
I
just-
wish. Oh my god! But if I could be affiliated with that show and somehow, oh, it's so good. But
And they knew you were coming on this show, and they know how large it is, and
yeah,
the audience
exactly.
that we reach. So I mean, how much I want to know.
Yeah, but it kind of speaks to kind of what you're just saying there, though, like perception versus reality. Oh, well, perception is reality. Of like, you know, how they kind of have this perception of who their parents really were, and then that sort of morphs throughout the course of the show. And oh, it's so good. It's just so good. I don't even know where I was going with that. I have This Is Us on the brain. It's so good. I got to watch the most recent episode, or the most recent season rather. But anyway, that's my my recommendation is to watch This Is Us.
It got great reviews. I don't know how much I trust reviews anymore, though.
All right. Well, this is a full-throated, recommendation.
Full-throated.
I think that's an
Wow.
expression.
Yeah, and it sounds sexual. Yeah.
It's great.
You like it
I'm
so much,
definitely
you gave it the full throat. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm gonna give it a try.
I want to get my throat on there too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I want to not just get my throat on it. I want to sit in and really enjoy it. You know.
Yes. Well, this comes. Yeah, it's an endorsement. It's very positive endorsement, Chris. How about that?
Okay, I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
So you buried the lead, and I think you started to dig it up a
Unbury it,
little
yeah.
bit. But could you just undig that lead?
Yeah.
Keep
so
unburying.
yeah. So I was kind of curious when you, especially Kyle, just based on your description that you came away saying that you're more like avoidant attachment. Because you started by saying there's 3 attachment styles, which I would disagree with. That I would argue that there's actually 4. And,
Oh yeah, okay.
And so the fourth one. So all right, so we kind of already highlighted secure attachment, anxious attachment, avoidant attachment. But then there's a fourth category, which I would call like fearful avoidant or like anxious avoidant, where it's kind of a combination of the other, like anxious attachment and avoidant attachment. And that, like, your description of what it was going on in your mind is like to a T exactly what a definition for fear, like anxious attachment or anxious avoidant or fearful avoidant. I usually call it fearful avoidant attachment style, when you so you're very sort of like ambivalent, or not necessarily ambivalent. Yeah, ambivalent actually is a good word, where you sort of equally want, like, crave intimacy, but also want to like run away from it at the same time. Like that, you kind of said that exactly, that you're like, I love and I just want to be in love and I want to find somebody, but I also like don't want to be held down. I want to like have my independence and my autonomy. It's a combination of both of those two. You can see, right? The first part, like, I want to be with my partner and I want to be loved and I want to be held and I want to be, get the reassurance, and I want to spend the rest of my life with this person and be happy, X, Y, and Z, which is more of your anxious attachment. But then the avoidant piece is like, yeah, but I also want to, right, run for the hills, and I want my autonomy, my independence. I want to be able to do my own thing. I don't want to be tied down. I don't want to be vulnerable. And so as a result, you can imagine how that would lead to a lot of conflict when it comes to,
I can imagine.
Like your own,
Yeah,
like inner conflict, but then also like external conflict with your partner as well, because you live in like a conflicting world where you want both things, which you can't have both things at the same time, right? You can't have complete autonomy and complete, like, whatever, codependence, I guess, on the extreme end, right? You can't have both of those things at the same time. So that creates this like whirlwind of emotions, which leads you to question everything and not know what you want. Potentially have a lot of insecurities. You actually kind of hinted towards last time too about like you're really influenced by whoever was the last person you spoke to, which again, because it's like, I don't even know what I want, but so if somebody else says something like, oh, well, that makes a good point, like maybe that's actually how I feel, and then somebody else says the counterpoint, like, actually, you're right, that's probably how I feel. It's like this whole like whirlwind of different emotions kind of pointing you in different directions. And then in a dating like relationship as well, it creates this like push-pull kind of dynamic, as you can imagine, because again, like the avoidant part of you pushes that person away, but then the anxious part of you is trying to pull that person back in, which leaves that other person like very confused and unsure of their place, and how you really feel about them. Somebody who's falls under that kind of the fearful avoidant umbrella, they're oftentimes the people who, if you've heard of these people, or maybe you guys are these people yourselves, who are in a relationship, and like, whenever there's a conflict, it always devolves into like, maybe we should just break up then, where you in your mind, you don't actually want to break up, but you're pushing that person away. The avoidant part is coming out of you with the hope that that person is going to say like, no, I still want to be with you, and kind of pulls you back in, kind of thing. And I just actually had a conversation earlier today with a client who said a similar thing, and I'm like, oh, attachment styles, there we go. But yeah, sorry, I just went on a long rant about that. But what are some thoughts?
Well, sorry, I just had to unplug the battery. Okay. That's what my girlfriend Tika said, because she started looking into the stuff too. And she sent me these videos about fearful avoidance. And I was watching them. I was like, well, that's great, but I got the dismissive avoidant. And she said, yeah, but you seem more like this. And I was like, well, I'm just based on the test scores. I don't even know. And funny enough, that kind of goes to what you said. Like, I don't know. I just went by what you said. Now what you said. Now that you said this, Nick, I totally agree with you. That sounds perfect. That's
She's
what I am.
fist pumping right now and then going, wait, why the fuck is he listening to him and not me? I said this earlier.
It could be like there's also like different elements of each, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, we're never going to be like perfectly aligned with one or the other. There's going to be tendencies that sort of bleed into others, but
what you said makes perfect sense. Yeah, and I mean, you heard me talking last time. That's unfiltered. That's what's really going through my mind. So if that fits that style, then yeah, probably.
Well, I mean, the description that I gave, does some of that stuff kind of sound like you?
Yeah.
Some of it I was just kind of like taking almost a word, well, not word for word, but as much of it, my recollection of what you said last time. But
yeah, the things that you said that I said, that sounds like something that I said.
Yeah.
No, but is there any, so like as a professional in this field, is there any, what would you recommend that I do?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Fix him, Nick.
Yeah.
You have a few minutes. So
yeah. Fix him.
Well, I mean, I guess it goes back to kind of what we said earlier, that we need to the first part is just having the awareness of what this is all about. And maybe it's worth,
oh no, that son of a bitch. I think his battery died.
Fuck. So
this is all staying in. I wonder if I have to resend him an invite.
Probably. No, actually, if he's already got the email link, he should be good.
Okay. Yeah. So I think his computer died because I heard him say he had to unplug his battery and then plug it back in.
Yeah.
So I guess you're the new co-host of Doubly Negative.
Here we go.
Bye, Kyle.
I'm Chris, here with my friend Nick.
Here with my friend Nick. How are you?
Good, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing good.
I say that's usually always the go-to response.
Yeah. So I'm doing really well. I kind of wanted Kyle to be here for this too, but we'll bring it up twice.
I say we could save it. I mean, if this
we gotta fill some time. Yeah, Kyle does the edits, and it doesn't take much time doing it. He just cuts off the beginning and he cuts off the very end when I lean in like this to try to find the record button.
And that's it.
So, nice. My therapist broke up with me.
No way.
On accident. Well, not on accident, but not because of anything between me and her, because she's moving on to a new job.
Oh no.
Yeah. So
did she say where she's going?
Yeah, but I forgot. Doing something better with better benefits. It's works some corporation she's working with.
Corporation?
Not corporation.
Like
agency. I don't know. She's gonna be like an advocate for mental health. I don't know. I'm not sure where. Okay. I don't know. That's all I remember.
No. So that's so disappointing. You've been going pretty strong. Oh,
I have been going strong.
We got
Kyle's back. Your battery died, didn't it?
Oh no.
Did your battery die?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I knew it was gonna because you were like leaning forward and plugging it in and unplugging it. Like it's my turn to talk, you'd unplug it.
Yeah.
You son of a bitch. You son of a bitch.
I'll just leave it in for now, even though I'm gonna stutter sometimes.
So far, so good. But I was telling Nick that my therapist broke up with me. I had messaged you earlier. We can get back to what we were talking about, and we'll save that conversation for later, I guess. Because you were on a roll there, Nick.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Well, I think the question you'd asked was like, what can I do about it? And
Oh yeah, fix
kind
them.
of,
And then
well,
I left.
yeah,
What can I do?
Ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, that's you avoiding us again.
yeah.
That's the push, dude. There it is.
That's my avoidant tendencies kicking in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of going back to what we said earlier. First part is the awareness, and it may be worth like unpacking more about where that kind of comes from too. Like where that fear kind of ultimately stems from, which a lot of that I think you kind of already already got there, but it may be kind of putting a lot of those pieces together. But yeah, and then just implementing skills to challenge negative thoughts, replace them with something more constructive. Really when it comes to like our relationships, if this is somebody that we feel that we can trust, then like we kind of we have to challenge those thoughts that say that they're not somebody who's trustworthy or somebody you shouldn't be vulnerable with. But I mean, because like it's also depending on what the issue is. I mean, it may require a different response. Because like maybe the anxious part is sort of kicking in this moment, or maybe the avoidant part is kicking in. They may require different kinds of skills, but that's, I mean, there's a lot to that. I think that's.
Do you have any familiarity with EFT?
EFT?
Yeah, it's like tapping.
No, actually.
Yeah, I was watching some videos with some woman who was discussing healing, fearful avoidant attachment style, and it's like you tap on these acupressure points while you're saying affirmations. So it's like, even though I'm afraid of love, I love and accept myself. And I don't know. Apparently, it's an evidence-based method.
Yeah.
I looked about it a little bit. So
yeah,
thought I'd ask you about it.
Yeah, emotionally focused therapy. So the tapping looks like it's just like an approach that they use. But that's kind of interesting. I wonder if it's similar to they do kind of like a similar thing. I mean, it's not tapping, but it's kind of a similar thing to process trauma, where like the eye movement, EMDR. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's like so they found that there's like different like movements that when your eyes focus on them while you're talking through your trauma, it actually helps you process your trauma better. And it's just like, I don't know, like kind of something goes back and forth in front of your eyes. And if you like focus on it while you're processing your trauma, it actually helps you like unlock these like places in your minds that sort of and put down that trauma that you otherwise couldn't. It's kind of very interesting, but it sounds like it's maybe a similar.
Do you think that's because you're kind of putting your brain on autopilot there? Like you're focusing on something else and you're kind of just letting your brain work it out for you without consciously avoiding those things?
Yeah.
I feel like trauma is something it's very common for people to kind of like push that down and kind of not talk about it, and in some cases forget it entirely.
Yeah. Well, there's also something very like therapeutic about like the rhythm of like going back and forth too. Not just going back and forth, but there's definitely just like rhythm in general, things that seem to fall into place. There's definitely something kind of like therapeutic about that. Even like journaling, while it's a helpful tool for self-reflection, obviously, also just the act of writing it down, there's like some like fluidity to the movements, which is also like helpful in like unlocking things too. So I think there's probably something to that too, psychologically. Maybe it mimics our brain waves or something like that, like sort of the fluidity of it, or our neural pathways or something like that, that our brain's able to like tap into and unlock the file cabinets of our minds. EMDR is admittedly not something I'm like super well versed in, to be fair, but I know it's an evidence-based model that seems to really work for trauma, but it's sort of a niche thing. You kind of have to be trained in it. It takes, it's a specialty for sure. But anyway,
Kyle, you look like you're deep in thought.
Yeah, I was just thinking, sometimes I wonder if these things like tapping or EMDR are just like, they're just things you can do instead of going into your own thought loops. So sometimes I wonder if what you're doing even really matters. Like you said, like journaling or whatever. It's like when you're doing that, you're focused on the process of something, so you're staying present. Whereas the alternative would be to just go through your thought loop. So I don't know. Sometimes I wonder when things like that get mentioned, like, does it even really matter what you're doing, or is it just that you're not going down those rabbit holes?
Mm. Well, no, because I mean, in the like when you're doing EMDR, you're talking through your trauma while you're doing it. So you're like going to that vulnerable place, emotionally vulnerable place, and but there's just something about sort of like the rhythm and the fluidity of the movement back and forth that helps like unlock it and allow you to like let it go, like kind of like unconsciously. Um, I'm not sure if there's even I'm sure they hypothesize why that's the case, but I think it's still kind of an ongoing science, that the human mind is just so complex and interesting. You can't really understand everything there is to know about it because we're just, I mean, we have a very infantile understanding of the human mind, despite doing this for a long time, and being on this planet for a long time. There's a lot that we don't know, more that we don't know than what we do know, for sure.
Well, as a moron that doesn't know much of anything, that kind of therapy seems useful and it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
EMDR, you said it was?
EMDR, yeah.
EMDR.
EMDR, eye movement desensitization realization. That's I think what it stands for.
I'm gonna look into that because it does sound very interesting and it kind of makes sense the way you described it.
Yeah, it's like it's a niche though. Like there's only a handful of therapists or psychologists, whatever, that are trained in it.
I've never heard of it. Not that I'm looking up different methods of healing trauma often on the internet, but that's something I've never even heard about. And I took one psychology class at CCRI, so I think I would have heard about it if it wasn't such a niche thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious to know more about your therapy, being broken up with by your therapist.
Oh yeah, we can pivot. Yeah, so she broke up with me. She said she's moving on to a new job. We should clickbait the title of this and say Chris is going through a breakup. Nick comes and they're gonna be like, "Oh my god, what the fuck happened?" And then they're gonna get to almost the hour mark and be like, "Oh, with this son of a bitch." But
that's like the when Kyle did that, like it was like 20 minutes into the episode where we were all convinced that he cheated, and it was really just on his diet.
Yeah.
Got me fucked up. I was like at the edge of my seat, like, no, he didn't. No,
I was so upset with him. I was happy after he tricked me and said it was with food.
Yeah.
And not on his girlfriend. But the whole time I was just like, all right, Kyle, go ahead.
I was going through for like listening for the first time. I was on a walk through my neighborhood, just like pacing as I'm listening, like, oh my God.
He's like walking faster, like, where the fuck is that's so funny. But yeah, she got a new job, my therapist, doing something else. So she asked me if I wanted to have her refer me to someone else in the building or just go out and look. And I said, I'll give you that answer next time I come here because I have one more session with her scheduled.
Okay.
I think just for the ease of things and making sure I still go regularly, I'm just going to get a reference from her because knowing me, I'll be like, oh, I'll look around and maybe see what fits me best. I won't do it. And then my wife will be like, what the fuck are you doing? And then she'll find it for me. And then I'll just take the easy route and have her reference me.
Yeah.
To somebody there.
And you guys see different therapists, right?
Me and Michelle?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not allowed to, like, I mean, another one she sees was like, yeah, I can't see your husband too, unless it's couples therapy, which we're not in. But she was like, yeah, then it's a conflict. And
yeah, it's a rule of thumb. That's good code of ethics following.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. That's a tricky sort of gray area in ethics, but I agree with that perspective for sure.
Yeah. But although I'm trying to look at the positive side of this almost kind of, oh, well, I've only seen one therapist. Maybe I'll see something else in this other person that I get referred to. And maybe I'll like that. Maybe that'll work better for me. Their style of not saying, because I liked the lady I was going to. I felt very comfortable with her. She was awesome. Yeah. But, it's the only one I know. And so that's the only, that's where the bar is. That is my bar. I don't know anything else. So maybe I'll find something else elsewhere. So I'm kind of taking it like that rather than like, oh no, I have to go meet someone new and go through all this again. I'm trying to be more like positive about it.
Yeah.
Does it hurt?
The breakup?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Nick would would know what I'm talking about. I mean, I don't even really know. I've only seen one therapist, but that's an attachment.
Mm.
And a therapist leaving you could trigger like abandonment trauma or like feelings of all sorts of that shit, right? Like you must feel something about that.
No, it is a bummer, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't get like a little anxiety when she said that. I was like, oh fuck, but you know, I'm understanding about it. I know it's like she's not putting her needs aside for the sake of the guy that comes once a month, you know, which I completely understand. So I'm very understanding, but there is part of the, oh man, that kind of sucks. But trying to look at it in the light of I get to try something else, see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, I like that sort of positivity, sort of positive spin to it.
Yeah.
Seeing it as like a new opportunity to potentially talk to somebody new, and maybe they have new skills and new insights and
Yeah.
perspectives for me.
And if that doesn't work out, then I keep looking.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and if you already had one therapist who had one particular style, like you can kind of pull a lot of those, carry a lot of those sort of skills with you, but then maybe this new person has a whole different sort of set of skills to implement. It's like, all right, so now I have those old skills and I also have these new skills, and I can kind of like weave them together to create my own sort of like coping mechanism there,
Yeah. Exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm excited, bummed, whatever. We must move on. I will
Well,
say another little update. Chrissy's exercising again. Yeah, I hit a breaking point. I hit my breaking point. So as you know, I've been complaining about a groin issue for the last 10 episodes.
At least.
Still here, but I said fuck it, I'm gonna work through it. I'm starting to take stretching a little more seriously. So it started a few days ago. 3 days. I started exercising 3 days ago. Right. So I'm saying it now to keep myself accountable. Started exercising 3 days ago. It started with just me thinking, all right, I'm gonna stretch, see how I feel. And then that turned into like some push-ups, some kettlebell stuff, and some bands. So I was just like moving a little bit. So the next day, I said, I'm gonna start running every day. I started running, testing out the groin because I want to get back to soccer. I don't like not doing anything. And let me tell you, I've had like Achilles pain. It felt sore and I wasn't doing anything all the time. And I was like, I think my Achilles are just fucked up. But just running for one day and doing one day of stretching, I have no pain anymore. I think they were just solidifying, saying, you're a piece of shit. I'm going to turn to stone if you're not going to use me. So I'm feeling a lot better.
Nice.
Yeah. And it kind of makes me think like in the moment, I don't think I was in a down place or in a rut at all. But now that I'm exercising and stuff, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so much better and I'm so much more willing to do this stuff. It makes me think, was I kind of down because of how much better I feel now? Or is it just because I'm actually doing the correct things now? It's making me perceive those past couple months as me being in a rut. Because I didn't realize it. Like, I don't know if I was, but I just feel a lot better now that I'm actually doing stuff.
Right. Yeah. Or whether it was actually a rut or not.
Yeah.
It's more noteworthy that once you actually started, like, started exercising and whatnot, you feel a big difference, which also, when we take a step back, shouldn't necessarily come as a big surprise. It's like,
no, it's not a surprise at all, but I'm still like, wait a minute.
Yeah. It's like, no wonder once I start taking care of myself physically, whenever I start, to even extend it out beyond exercising, but like, start implementing or start doing the things that I enjoy doing, the hobbies, my interests, my, things like that we oftentimes forget about in moments of stress. It's like, again, it's no wonder we're feeling like crap when we're not exercising, we're not doing the things that we enjoy doing, falling deeper and deeper into a rut.
Yeah. And I kind of look back on the past couple months and noticed when I started getting, more interested in working out and stuff, I got into small routines. So it started with me taking multivitamins and stuff more religiously, like when I'm supposed to. It started because I was told I have arthritis in my knee, and someone said this glucosamine kind of hydrate stuff. Don't know if I said the last word right. Whatever.
Sounds right.
They said it'll change your life, because I was like waking up with pain in the middle of the night. So I started taking it, haven't had pain. So I've been taking those religiously. And then eventually it was like, okay, I'm going to start stretching. And then it got me into like, all right, I'm doing like my face skincare routine now. And I wasn't doing that. It picking up little routines along the way. We talk about it so much, but like that momentum, and I can kind of see now where the momentum started, and with such a small thing such as taking a multivitamin in the morning.
Yeah.
It was a long rant with no ending and no question, and just let's leave it open ended. Someone else take over. That's how that ended.
What say you, Kyle?
I say, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, and I've had that same experience so many goddamn times, so many times, where, yeah, like Nick says, it's like it's not surprising. Of course, it's going to make us feel better. What's more surprising is why we stop doing those things, and that's what I always get hung up on. Like, why does that happen?
I think because you get used to feeling good all the time, you don't remember what the feeling bad part was like until you get there.
Maybe that's what it is.
And then you sit there for a while and you go, oh shit, this doesn't feel good anymore either.
Well, there's definitely something attractive too about like taking the path of least resistance. Like there's something like deeply psychological, I think, to that like going the path of least resistance we think is like the right answer. Because I don't have to try hard for it. But that's definitely a misunderstanding and miscalculation, because like I would argue that all the good stuff in our life comes from a place like we had to sort of fight and claw and try really, really hard to make it work. We had to put in a lot of effort, whether that be working out, whether that be maintaining a relationship, whether that mean graduating college or whatever, like all these things that require a lot of time, energy, effort out of us. We cannot take the path of least resistance to do a lot of that stuff. And yet those are some of the things that we value the most, right? But the things that are the easiest, most comfortable, most convenient things, again, the path of least resistance, are oftentimes the things we spend the most time on, but we actually get the least value out of, right? So it's just a miscalculation, misunderstanding of, where where happiness actually comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. So it seems
I just
like
realized.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No. You go.
I just realized how selfish we are when Nick is on, because we never really talk to Nick. Like, Nick, what do you do that challenges you, or what's fun for you? Like, how can you relate to that momentum idea?
Wow, it wasn't. I'm usually like used to being in the therapist chair asking the questions, so I'm not used to the questions coming. Even when like I'll whenever I start a session, be like, hey, how was your weekend, or whatever. Whenever a client like comes back, it's like, how was your weekend? I'm like, wasn't ready for that. What did I do this weekend?
I don't know.
Shit, every time it happens.
We've let you go 5 hours before we decided to, ask you. So
a single question.
You just have so much knowledge. We're trying to just get as much out of you as we can, because we're not going to help you. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, I mean, I experience similar things, right? Staying on track with stuff, staying consistent. I mean, I go through the same sort of periods when I go to the gym every day. But right now I haven't been to the gym in maybe like 2 months, maybe.
But you stay skinny because you're vegan. I eat everything.
Yeah. That I mean, it definitely helps being vegan. But so there, I mean, I think I'm just kind of hardwired in a way to even if I'm not exercising like regularly, I still for the most part like eat healthy. Well, kind of have to, being vegan. But
what the fuck is your excuse for not exercising for that long?
Well, so just because I don't go to the gym doesn't mean I don't exercise. I go for walks pretty regularly through my neighborhood. I'll go like for 15-minute walks a couple times a day if I can. Sometimes I'm not able to get out, but it's a lot easier doing it that way. Ever since actually it started getting like warmer out, I stopped having an interest in it, which is usually the other way around. It's usually like in the winter time. Well, I don't know. Maybe that's it. Yeah.
Just the guy doesn't like to sweat. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in the wintertime it's more difficult for people because there's just like less motivation, less energy. I mean, there's so many obstacles. It's cold, it's gloomy, it's just ugly. At least not in Bali where it's beautiful every day. But
boring. Move on.
But for 6 months out of the year, it's just a horror show here, and it's miserable and cold and
literally awful.
It's terrible. I mean, it just like last week was like the first time it's been nice, and it's May, so
yeah.
It's the first time it's been nice since like September. Anyway, so so yeah, I think usually in the wintertime, people like really have a hard time with exercising. For me, it's like the other way around. Like I better at going to the gym, I think, in the wintertime. And in the summertime, I don't want to go. I want to like enjoy. I want to be outside.
It's definitely a boredom thing. It's like you are you're a social butterfly, Nick. You like to go out, you like to have fun.
That's hilarious that you said that.
I think well,
That's hilarious.
whenever we go out, you're the I don't know,
Yeah.
you're kind of driving a little bit. You're like, let's go to this fucking place. Let's keep the night going. Like you like to
That is hilarious that that's your perception of me.
You
Because
do. You like to keep the night going.
well, okay, so right. So I am to my core very introverted.
Okay.
COVID was like no problem for me. If I never have to see anybody ever again, I'm like totally fine.
Well, I'm
I'm
not saying you're not comfortable,
Yeah.
with COVID and stuff. Like you're fine with that. But I'm saying I feel like when you go out, you like to go out.
Yeah.
With
So
certain people, like with the main crew, it's like
yes.
it
So
dep-
I describe myself as being an extroverted introvert.
Makes sense.
I'm introverted to my core, but when I'm with the people that I like, that I care about, that I know, that I'm comfortable with, then you'll see a whole different side of me. I'm definitely more social, more outgoing, yada yada yada. But like to my core, I'm incredibly introverted. I'm totally fine staying home every day. Until I want to travel and then I want to be out and about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm totally fine having like no social exposure at all.
I'm very introverted myself.
Yeah.
I don't leave the house unless Michelle makes plans. That's it.
I think you said something in there that was about exercising, and then you said, "Well, just because I'm not going to the gym doesn't mean I'm not exercising." I think that's a good lesson for me, particularly, and maybe other people. It's like when I get tired of the gym, I just stop exercising.
Mm.
I don't consider that there's alternatives. That all right, just because this isn't interesting me anymore, I can switch to something else. It's like it seems to me like either you're consciously keeping it in mind or maybe it's unconscious, but it's like, well, I need to move my body somehow. So if I don't want to do this, I'll switch to this. And that's probably useful in all areas of life. It's just yeah, I want to just point that out and keep that in my mind.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Yeah, sometimes you're not going to be like have access to to everything. Maybe you're on vacation or whatever, and you're not able to go to the gym the same way you would, or whatever. Life gets in the way, prevents you from not being able to gym, and that's probably following kind of your logic there. Maybe that's why it's easy to not be so consistent, to get trapped and end up not going to the gym every day. Just using that as an example, because it's inevitable that something's going to come up. It's going to mess with your routine, and going to lead you to not go. And then once you don't go one day, gives it's that voice in your head is that much stronger to tomorrow to be like, oh, well, you didn't go yesterday, so like, what's one more day? And then before you know it, it's been months and months and months and you haven't been back. But there may be some way you can kind of channel that into like, hey, well, maybe I can't go to the gym today, but maybe do I have 15 minutes to spare today? Probably, right? I probably have 15 minutes somewhere, and maybe I can get a good walk around the block and come back. And although that's obviously not the same, you're not getting the same workout. It's not going to be as adrenaline pumping as a full workout at the gym, but it's something.
Exactly, and that's what I was going to say too. Exactly, because especially like let's say Chris and I do powerlifting sometimes. Let's say my goal is to get stronger and stronger, and all of a sudden I don't want to go to the gym. Part of my brain goes, fuck a walk. What's a walk gonna be?
Yeah.
I'd
I
rather
want
not
heavy
do a
weight
walk.
on my back.
Yeah. But the fact is that there's a lot more to exercising than just reaching a strength goal or something like that. It's good for your mind, it's good for your body, blah, blah, blah. So it's like that all or nothing mentality it's been very detrimental to me over the years.
Oh,
And
sure.
I would like to switch to walks sometimes if I'm not doing anything else, for example.
Yeah, the all or nothing thinking, that's like one of the most common what we call like cognitive distortions. It's like the games that our mind likes to play on us to convince us of things, of like you either have to be all in or all out, when in actuality, as is true in life in general, but in all things, is like balance is probably the best bet for pretty much everything, right? And it goes for this too. I don't necessarily always have to be all in or all out. There's a way in which I can find something in between.
Yeah, I feel like I had that mentality when I first hurt my groin. I was like, I can't go to the gym, my groin's blown out. But I could have done some upper body exercises or something. but I
Sure.
was thinking I just like to squat and deadlift. Really, that's all I want to do.
Yeah.
So that's all.
Well,
Not
and
gonna go.
just the something I talk about, and you just said, Kyle, as well, is just like the like physical health versus mental health, and like how interconnected they are. We oftentimes think of them as separate like things, but they're not, right? They're clearly intertwined. You can't have one without the other, right? If you're physically not taking care of yourself, you're probably also mentally going to feel the repercussions of that, and vice versa, right? If you're not mentally in a good place, you're probably physically not going to be in a good place, right? And so maybe that looks, if I'm mentally not in a good place, maybe that means I stop going to the gym, I stop eating well, I stop doing the things that make me feel good, and it works the other way as well, right? If I'm not, again, feeling good physically, then it's going to contribute to mental health and creates this chicken or the egg sort of scenario, which is hurting me worse, which is contributing to what. But there's definitely something in that again, if I can just keep moving in a positive direction, like physically, just using that as an example, but that's also going to contribute to your mental health being better too.
Sometimes I wonder, in the same way that perhaps an anxious person knows that an avoidant person isn't good for them, but it feels comfortable, for example. Sometimes I wonder that in your same situation, Chris, you get an injury. In that type of situation or other similar situations, some part of me goes, good, now I have an excuse to go back into my comfort of doing nothing and like the depression blanket. It's like some part of me wants to go back into that. Like not consciously, of course. It's not good for you. But does that make sense at all?
I think you're talking to you, Chris.
No, I thought he was asking you if it makes sense that he has.
I guess I'm talking to both of you. But like, for example,
I thought you were just
always...
referencing.
So you said Chris, so I thought you were referencing, like, asking that question to Chris. My fault.
Yeah. But all these things that we do that are good for us are hard, and not doing them is easier. So it's like, I guess I'm kind of answering my own question before, my own thought before. It's like, of course, going for a walk is better than doing nothing. But some part of me wants to just do nothing. Get as fat and lazy and awful as possible.
Yeah. But is that the voice that's good for you, right?
Of course not.
Right.
So that feed the good wolf.
Right.
Starve
So
the bad.
Right. And so those are those, we were talking earlier about like the automatic thought, right? So we have like this negative, automatic sort of reaction, framing things through, through a negative light, or again, having that sort of that pessimistic voice that's telling you, pointing out all the bad stuff, and how everything, why you should just take it easy and not, not try hard, kind of thing. That's a voice that we have to challenge, right? Because it's a voice that's, within all of us, right? We all have that voice for sure that tells us to take it easy and to not push yourself and go the path of least resistance. But we've also listened to that voice many a times, and ultimately didn't bring us where we thought it was going to, right? It didn't make us feel any, because I think there's something to that of like, oh, if I take the easy route, that's going to be safer and more comfortable and easier, safer, more secure, whatever. But actually the opposite is the case. It actually makes us more uncomfortable, right? But as evidenced by a lifetime of experiences doing that, right? Taking the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Chris, do you think any part of you had that reaction when you had the groin injury? Like, of course, there's a part of you that says, fuck, now I can't squat and deadlift. But was any part of you like, this is an excuse now to take it easy for a while? Did you have that?
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about my FIFA addiction. It was like, okay, now I can just fucking grind FIFA all the time.
Do you feel good when you grind FIFA though?
When I get that, it's essentially like gambling. There are times where I'm down. There are times where I'm up. It's the ride, baby.
Yeah, it's adrenaline's pumping for sure.
Yeah,
but if you
not
played,
in a good, healthy way.
Yeah, but if you played FIFA like every day though, all day.
Every day, all day? No, I could not do that.
Yeah.
I mean, there are days where like I wake up early on the weekends, and if I have nothing planned, I'll sit at my computer for quite a few hours and just bang games out.
Yeah. Well, the reason I say that too, and I can't remember if we said this or said this in one of the other pods I was on, but like I think COVID really opened a lot of people's eyes to that too. So when COVID first hit, and the whole world got flipped upside down, we all had to stay at home. We couldn't go out. We couldn't see our friends. We couldn't go to work. We just kind of had to stay home. Where did everybody's mind go? The path of least resistance. What's the easiest, most convenient, most comfortable thing I could possibly do? It's sit in front of the TV, watch Netflix, play video games, sit on TikTok, Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. And I think if you were to ask, if you were to poll people or to tell people before the pandemic, like, all right, I got this proposition for you, right? Take the next month off, right? Don't go to work. Don't see your friends. Don't even bother leaving. You got everything you need right here. Just play video games, sit on Instagram, watch YouTube videos, like just take it easy. I think pretty much everybody, universally would be like, am I getting punked? Like, that sounds like the best thing ever. Like, obviously
Sign me up.
I would choose that over anything. Like, that's literally the best case scenario for my life would be to sit home for the next month and do that.
Well, that's coming from someone who's a self-proclaimed introvert. So it's important to note that.
Sure. Yes, that's fair. But even extroverts, I think, can find that stimulation that they're looking for out of social engagement through Instagram and whatever social media is pretty. Again, that's very stimulating. But anyway, but yeah, so that happened right at the beginning stages of COVID, and then a month or so into that experiment, I got flooded sort of inbox, with new clients and everything coming to me saying like, I don't know what's wrong, but I feel like shit. I feel miserable. I'm anxious. I'm tired. I don't do anything. And I don't understand because I don't do anything all day. It's like, right, because you don't do anything all day. That's why
there was a noticeable uptick in your client list.
Oh yeah. I mean, never mind just life stressors with COVID and stuff. And people are scared, we understandably, everybody got the shit scared out of them and everything. But there's something to the fact that everybody just went the path of least resistance. Like, what is the easiest, most convenient, most comfortable, simple thing ever? Which is like to our own detriment, right? And again, it makes sense in a very basic level of like, oh, it's comfortable, it's easy, it's convenient, like all things that seem like positive things on the surface, but obviously have a very negative downside as well. And that's what it ultimately ended up looking like, and led me to believe like, no, we need structure, we need things that keep us busy, we need to stay productive, we need to invest in things that make us feel good, that keep like we operate best within like in movement when we're doing stuff, because we can't stay stagnant, at least not for a long period of time before that catches up to us, right? And you both have sort of alluded to that. When you stop exercising, when you stop getting out of the house, whatever, you feel it, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I do want to note that when I said fuck yeah, I could grind FIFA, thank God I got injured, in my head I didn't know it was going to be a 2-month injury, 3-month injury. So I just want that noted. I thought I had a week, but it fucking lingers,
right?
Because I'm old. So I just want to note that.
Yeah. Even on a weekend, if you have like all day where you don't have to be anywhere, do you play FIFA all day? Like, is there days, like, how do you feel on a day when you do that?
Well, I don't typically do that. There's like, I'll either go out with Michelle, we'll go out, get drinks, get dinner, I'll do work in the yard. I mean, maybe a past me, like pre me and Michelle separating, I probably would have done that. But now I'm kind of in like a mode where I'm actually doing yard work outside and trying to make the house look good. Just exercising now for 3 days.
Well, and doing some of that yard work is also, under the umbrella of exercising.
Yeah, I'm out there, doing manual labor. So I'm moving and feeling better. And that might have also gone into the whole momentum thing that I didn't even mention earlier. Just me starting doing small projects around the house.
For sure.
Yeah. So
having small goals and achieving them.
Yes, that sense of fulfillment. And that's why FIFA is so addicting as well. I just want to point that out. There is like a sense of fulfillment there where they have this reward system. So I need to, on a given week, I need to win a certain amount of games to qualify for weekend league. And that's where all the best rewards are. Right. And in weekend league, you get 20 games, and depending on your record, you get better rewards. So the goal for me is to get 11.
So Nick
wins.
and I right now, you're just saying, so they just came out with this new crack. They got crack and they put more crack into it. And this crack, when you smoke it with it, yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
No, but I'm explaining, why it is so addicting. And I'm not like I'm on plenty of FIFA like subreddits
Yeah.
too. But everyone always says like how addicting and like the cycle of the game. It's just it's an addicting grind because there are those fulfillment, like that sense of fulfillment. There are goals you're achieving in the game.
Well, and there's something to that too, like separate from FIFA. There's like there's pieces of that you can implement into your life as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I've done that with the yard. I'm making small
Right.
milestones and something tangible.
Yeah, if you know that that's something that like taps into your motivation, that you're motivated to play the game, play the matches, because then you could get into the weekend league and whatever. Again, I don't know what any of that shit means, but
Yeah,
but you can
get it. You get it.
but you can again pull out like, all right, what is it that's actually driving me to do this, and try to implement that as best you can into your lifestyle routines and stuff. And maybe it is, maybe there's some sort of like reward system you have to build into the model too.
Michelle's gonna have to start buying me shit when I do stuff around the house, like cool shit. Or maybe I just buy myself a little something after I achieve something. I give myself a little treat, take myself out.
Yeah. I mean, a reward system could look like a lot of different things. It could look like buying yourself things for sure.
Yeah. So when Michelle's asking what the hell are you spending so much money, I'm gonna say, look how much I'm doing around the house.
Look at it.
Yeah.
So nice.
That doesn't sound healthy, but I'm gonna try it.
Well, as long as it's not like, I did this one small task, and now I'm gonna reward myself every time.
I mowed just the front lawn. I'm gonna go to the strip club.
Right, but if there's
because Nick said so.
Yeah. Nick said I need rewards. This is me. Okay.
Yeah. My therapist told me I could go to the strip club. Yeah.
So that's what I'll do. We've been going for hour and 21.
Yeah,
I feel like anytime you're on, like we could just go we could turn this into like an episode of Rogan where it's like 5 hours. But we're gonna cut it here.
Are you gonna get canceled for mentioning Rogan? Or
I think so, probably. I mean, he is the devil.
That's what I hear. They keep telling me.
He's friends with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk showed his dick to somebody. So,
and now he owns Twitter.
I think that fell
through.
What
a world. Did it? I thought he bought it. I thought it was confirmed. I thought he bought it.
It might have fell through. Depends. Google it. I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass.
Like almost 1,000,000% sure.
All right.
He bought Twitter.
Well, who knows?
I'm almost 1,000,000% sure that actually means nothing. But
yeah, I'm gonna look it up.
Who owns Twitter? Elon Musk.
Told you.
No, you Googled it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, what you mean?
Elon Musk. You got to dig deeper than that.
So he has like a controlling stock of it or whatever. Yeah, he wants to, at least he's claiming he wants to get rid of censoring and shit.
Okay, here's the thing. I Googled Elon Musk Twitter deal. Elon Musk says Twitter deal on hold.
When?
But also 8 hours ago, Twitter stock falls below where Elon Musk bought it, turning a 1.1 billion profit into a $40 million loss.
Yeah. So there was like rumblings he was going to buy it. And then I think they came out with a news report that he like actually wasn't going to buy it. And then like he ultimately did buy it though. I'm pretty sure.
Well, stock is on sale, so buy the dip, everybody. Josh would tell you that from our last episode.
Yeah. Stock market is crazy right now.
Yeah, I don't want to touch it anymore. I'm in, but I'm not going anymore in for a little bit.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess.
But we're gonna wrap this up because I got to go to bed. I'm tired. Nick's tired.
I need to go to bed like hours ago.
Yeah. So
that's my bedtime, y'all.
Kyle, any closing remarks?
Thank you, Nick, so much for coming on. I'm sure you've heard me in past episodes say how excited I am for you to come on, and you are my I don't want to say it, but you're my favorite guest.
Oh,
anxious.
Wow.
Well, and I'm the only recurring guest, so I feel like that feels like a cop out.
That's a big part
of it. It's a cop out. Whatever.
No, it's not a cop out. The recurring the amount that you come on this show just shows how much we love you.
Yeah.
I asked him, I was like, hey, you want to get Nick on now that we have video? And he goes, I've been clamoring for Nick for weeks. I was like,
and during the 50th episode drunk cast, I was embarrassed when I watched it back because I was like, I love Nick. I love that guy.
Yeah, that was never released, but you should clip that and send it to Nick. I think you also peed
No.
in a bottle during.
Oh, you need to send it to me. Yeah, no, because they were, yeah, after the drunk cast, you put out an episode reflecting on the drunk cast, and you guys were saying stuff, and I'm like, did they say that? I'm like, did I miss an episode? Because I feel like they did say that.
There's
Did we
another.
release everything?
No, we
No, it
did
never
not. We
got
can't.
posted.
We
Are you
can't.
fucking kidding me? I thought we did.
No, we can't.
No, I was just
I
saying,
edited it. It's
no,
fine.
you guys were talking about it, about like all the things you said, and I'm like, did I miss that episode? I like maybe they're reference, like maybe I'll have to go back and listen to it again. I don't know. Oh, but I definitely want to hear it then. Yeah, send it.
Yeah, I will.
It was bad. We had a lot to drink.
It
Well-
was great. It was a great podcast.
I'm also interested in the podcast that you never put up about all the conspiracy theories and stuff too. I'm here for that. I'm always here for a good conspiracy theory talk.
I think we have that somewhere.
Send
I
it.
think we can probably give Nick special privileges to just have all these unreleased episodes.
I think so. Yeah.
It's the
You're
perks
in
of
the-
being a
you're-
recurring guest.
Yeah, exactly. That's how we pay you. Just us
Call it
being
patient,
morons.
whatever confidentiality too.
Yeah,
that
so
don't
we'll
post
we'll
personal.
fucking sue your ass if you tell anyone about what's in those episodes. I will
I'll
sue
put-
the shit out of you.
I'll post it on YouTube on my own channel. It's fine.
Imagine you get more followers than we ever got, and it's just because everyone's like, "Fuck those guys, I'm not gonna follow them," and then you just get huge.
Jesus.
All right, but that's it for the episode. Thank you for watching. Download, subscribe, do all that jazz. Bye.
This is life being bound to love.